Commander Alan Wright stood at the viewport of his new command, the USS Valiant. 6 months had passed since that fateful day when alien vessels appeared without warning near Jupiter's orbit. 6 months since the scans that changed everything. 6 months of uneasy silence from the stars. Admiring the view, Captain? The voice belonged to Admiral Sofia Martinez. She always moved quietly, a habit from her days in special operations. Still getting used to the title, Alan replied, turning to face his superior officer. At 42, he was older than most first-time captains, but the events half a year ago had accelerated many careers. Well, get used to it quickly. The Valiant leaves dock tomorrow. The Admiral handed him a data tablet. Your orders, official and classified. Alan took the tablet, his eyes scanning the mission parameters. Diplomatic contact, after the way they fled last time? The Admiral's face remained neutral, but her eyes hardened. They didn't flee because they were weak, right? They fled because something about us terrified them. The incident replayed in Alan's mind. He had been tactical officer aboard the USS Defiance when 3 unknown vessels appeared near the Jupiter mining colonies. First contact protocol was clear, defensive posture but no aggressive action. The aliens initiated a deep scan of the Iber Defiance. 18 seconds later, all 3 alien ships engaged emergency engines and vanished from the solar system. We've intercepted enough of their communications to know they call themselves the Galactic Hegemony, Martinez continued. 7 species working together, all more technologically advanced than us. Yet they're keeping their distance. Intelligence suggests they're afraid. Afraid of what? Our weapons are primitive compared to theirs. Martinez smiled slightly. That's what you're going to find out. You'll be taking Dr. Olivia Grant with you, civilian specialist in xenopsychology. Alan frowned. A civilian on a military vessel during a first contact situation? She has clearance, and theories about what spooked the hegemony that make too much sense to ignore. The Admiral stepped closer to the viewport. The massive shipyard stretched before them, Earth a blue marble in the distance. The Valiant is our newest destroyer, class. Not our biggest ship, but our most advanced. It sends the right message. We're prepared to fight if necessary, but we're not sending a dreadnought. Alan nodded, understanding the delicate balance. And my crew? The best available. Many from the Defiance, including Lieutenant Eric Johnson for communications. She paused. You'll need people you trust where you're going. And where exactly is that? Taetti. Neutral ground. A 12-week journey even with the new drives. Alan absorbed this information. Taetti was one of humanity's planned expansion points, though no permanent colony had been established yet. Report to Briefing Room 6 at 800. You'll meet Dr. Grant and get the full mission parameters. The Admiral turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing, Wright. Whatever scared them, it might be our greatest advantage. Or it could start a war. Tread carefully. After the Admiral left, Alan returned to his quarters to review his crew assignments. Chief Engineer Kelly Rodriguez had been his first request. Her ability to solve impossible problems had saved the Defiance more than once. Security Chief Marcus Brown was a natural choice too, level-headed in a crisis but fierce when necessary. The next morning, Alan arrived at the briefing room 5 minutes early, only to find Dr. Olivia Grant already there, studying data on a large screen. Captain Wright. She didn't look up from her work. I was analyzing the scan patterns the hegemony used on your previous ship. Alan studied the civilian specialist. She was younger than he expected, perhaps 35, with short brown hair and intense focus in her eyes. And what have you found, Doctor? Their scan was thorough. Very thorough. Now she looked at him. They weren't just checking your weapons or shields. They were scanning everything. Crew quarters, recreation areas, the mess hall, even personal items. Before Alan could respond, Admiral Martinez entered with several high-ranking officers. Let's begin, the Admiral said, taking her seat. 6 months ago, humanity made first contact with an advanced alien coalition. Their response to scanning our vessel was immediate withdrawal and what appears to be military preparation. However, they've also initiated diplomatic channels through automated messages. A star map appeared on the main screen. The galactic hegemony controls approximately 58 star systems. Their technology is estimated to be 70 to 100 years ahead of ours. They use automated systems extensively. Based on intercepted communications, they find something about us deeply disturbing. Dr. Grant stood. With permission, Admiral. Martinez nodded. The hegemony ships that scanned the Defiance were operating with minimal crews, perhaps 5 to 7 individuals on each vessel. Their military doctrine appears to rely heavily on AI systems and robotics. Grant switched the display to show the crew complement of the Defiance. By contrast, we had 217 humans aboard our vessel. Based on what we've learned of hegemony psychology, this alone would be shocking to them. Alan considered this. They're afraid of our numbers? Not exactly, Grant continued. From what we've pieced together from their communications, the hegemony species have been unified for over 3 centuries. Warfare between their member species is ancient history. They maintain military forces for protection against unknown threats, like us. But their approach to conflict is highly automated and algorithmic. Admiral Martinez took over. Dr. Grant believes the hegemony was not frightened by our weapons, but by our crew, by humans themselves. A silence fell over the room. Your mission, Martinez continued, is to meet with hegemony representatives at Taetti, establish diplomatic relations if possible, and determine exactly what they fear about us. The USS Valiant will depart tomorrow at Ors 600. Questions? Alan had many, but one rose above the others. What if they're right to be afraid of us? Dr. Grant answered instead of the Admiral. That's what I'm going to help you figure out, Captain. Later that day, Alan stood in the docking bay watching supplies being loaded onto the Valiant. His ship. His responsibility. Heavy thoughts, sir? Lieutenant Eric Johnson approached, offering a coffee. Just wondering what we're getting ourselves into, Alan replied, accepting the drink. Whatever scared them, we'll handle it, Johnson said with the confidence of youth. The crew's talking about it. Some think our weapons must be accidentally similar to something that once threatened the hegemony. Alan took a sip of coffee. And, what do you think, Lieutenant? Johnson smiled. I think if they're scared of us now, wait until they get to know us. As the sun set over Earth's horizon, Alan considered the mission ahead. Whatever the aliens had seen when they scanned a human warship, he would soon discover why it left them terrified. And perhaps in that answer lay the future of humanity among the stars. 4 weeks into their journey to Taetti, the USS Valiant had settled into a rhythm. Captain Alan Wright made his morning rounds, nodding to crew members as he passed through the busy corridors. Unlike the sterile silence of hegemony vessels, human ships buzzed with life. Alan entered the mess hall, a space alive with conversation and laughter. Chief Engineer Kelly Rodriguez sat with her team, hands moving animatedly as she described a modification to the engine cooling systems. So I told them, either we vent the excess heat through the secondary manifolds or we all learn to swim in coolant. Her team erupted in laughter. Dr. Olivia Grant sat alone in the corner, watching everything with keen interest. Alan grabbed a coffee and joined her. You're studying us again, he said, sliding into the seat across from her. Olivia nodded. I'm documenting differences between human ship operations and what we know of hegemony protocols. And what have you found? She gestured toward Rodriguez and her team. Their ships have no equivalent to this. No communal eating areas, no shared recreation. Crews are kept separate, interaction minimized. Everything runs on tightly controlled schedules. Alan watched as Lieutenant Eric Johnson entered the mess hall, grabbed food and joined a table where an argument about old Earth sports teams was growing heated. The Cubs were robbed in 27, Johnson declared, jumping into the debate. Without hesitation. Your communications officer just voluntarily joined a conflict, Olivia noted. A hegemony crew member would never. Alan smiled. That's not a conflict, that's just breakfast. To them, there's no difference. Their society has eliminated disagreement from daily life. Decisions are made by consensus or algorithm. The concept of friendly argument is foreign to them. A short distance away, Security Chief Marcus Brown organized a training schedule with his team. "I want everyone rotating through zero-G combat drills," Brown told his officers. 2 hours daily. The environment at Taetti Station will be different. We need to be ready. Olivia gestured toward them. "That's another thing. Hegemony security is entirely automated. The idea of biological entities training for physical combat is considered primitive." Alan sipped his coffee. "You think our crew's behavior is what frightened them?" "I'm increasingly convinced. The hegemony has spent centuries removing unpredictability from their society. Their ships are run by strict protocols with minimal crew intervention. Then they scan the Defiance and find over 200 humans making countless decisions, interacting in complex social hierarchies, expressing emotions, and preparing for physical combat." She tapped her data tablet. "I've been gathering evidence. Look at our duty rosters compared to a hegemony vessel." The screen showed 2 charts. The hegemony schedule was perfectly symmetrical with no deviations. The Valiant's schedule was a complex web of shifts, training sessions, and flexible time blocks. "We allow our people to swap shifts for personal reasons," Alan said. "Exactly. Unpredictability built into the system. To them, this looks like chaos." Their conversation was interrupted by the ship's communication system. Captain Wright to the bridge. When Alan reached the bridge, Lieutenant Johnson was at his station, focused intently on his console. "We've picked up a transmission, sir. It's faint but definitely artificial." "Hegemony?" "I don't think so. The signature doesn't match their known frequencies." Alan moved to the command chair. "Source?" "A small planetoid about half a light year. Off our course. No registered outposts in that area." "Could be a trap," Security Chief Brown said from his station. "Or someone in trouble," Chief Engineer Rodriguez countered, having followed the captain to the bridge. Dr. Grant entered last, standing quietly at the back of the bridge. "Options?" Alan asked. "Standard protocol would be to log it and continue our mission," Brown said. "Investigating unknown signals isn't in our orders." Rodriguez shook her head. "But we can't just ignore a potential distress call." "It might not be a distress call," Johnson pointed out. "The pattern has structure, but I can't decode it yet." Alan weighed the choices. The mission to Taetti was time-sensitive. A detour could delay their arrival, but if someone needed help, alter course, he decided. "Let's check it out, but approach with caution, shields at maximum." As the crew implemented his orders, he noticed Dr. Grant making notes. "Something interesting, Doctor?" "Very. The decision you just made? A hegemony captain would never have made it." "Why not?" "Insufficient data, deviation from protocol, potential risk for uncertain gain. Their ships would continue on course 100% of the time, even if someone might need help. Especially then. Hegemony protocol values mission parameters above unexpected developments." The Valiant adjusted course toward the mysterious signal. 6 hours later, they entered the planetoid's orbit. "Scan complete, Captain," Rodriguez reported. "It's an automated research station. Old. Maybe 20 years. No life signs." "Human?" Alan asked. "No. Design is unfamiliar. Not hegemony either." Lieutenant Johnson straightened in his chair. "I've deciphered more of the signal, sir. It's a data archive. The station is broadcasting its research findings on loop." "What kind of research?" "Astronomical surveys mostly. Star mapping. Some planetary composition studies." Alan considered. "Someone built this station, gathered data, and left it broadcasting its findings to anyone who passed by. Knowledge for knowledge's sake," Dr. Grant said. "Interesting. Can we download the data?" Alan asked. Rodriguez nodded. "Already working on it, sir. Should take about 20 minutes." "Do it. Could be valuable." While they waited, Dr. Grant approached the captain. "You realize what just happened, don't you?" "We found an abandoned research station." "No. You demonstrated exactly why the hegemony fears humans. You deviated from your primary mission based on curiosity and a sense of obligation to potential strangers. You made a decision using intuition rather than protocol. Alan frowned. It was the right call. I agree. But to the hegemony, this kind of decision-making is terrifying. It's unpredictable. It introduces variables their algorithms can't account for. Later, with the data downloaded and the Valiant back on course to Taetti, Alan sat in his quarters reviewing reports. A chime announced Dr. Grant at his door. Enter, he called. She stepped inside, holding her data tablet. I've been studying the crew's reaction to our detour. 27 separate decisions were made that hegemony protocols would never allow. From your initial choice to investigate, to Engineer Rodriguez's method of interfacing with alien technology, to Lieutenant Johnson's decoding approach. Your point? When the hegemony scanned the Defiance, they saw a ship full of beings who constantly make unpredictable choices, who operate on intuition and emotion as much as logic, who can change plans mid-execution based on new information. To a civilization built on predictability and control, that's not just foreign, it's frightening. Alan leaned back in his chair. So they're not afraid of our weapons, they're afraid of us, of how we think. Exactly. And as we get closer to Taetti, I believe we'll discover just how deep that fear runs. The USS Valiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a subtle shudder. Taetti shone bright against the darkness of space, its light reflecting off the sleek hull of the destroyer. Standard orbit achieved, Captain, reported the helmsman. Alan. Wright stood from his command chair. Any sign of the hegemony vessel? Lieutenant Eric Johnson studied his console. Yes, sir. The harmonious equation is in position on the far side of the fourth planet. They're maintaining distance but have acknowledged our arrival. Open a channel. Channel open. Alan straightened his uniform. This is Captain Alan Wright of the Earth, vessel USS Valiant. We come in peace for diplomatic talks as arranged. The view screen remained blank, but a voice responded. Flat and mechanical, clearly translated by computer. Human vessel. This is the harmonious equation. Proceed to coordinates. Being transmitted. Neutral station awaits, 2 representatives only. Dr. Olivia Grant, standing at the back of the bridge, raised an eyebrow at the terse response. Coordinates received, Johnson confirmed. Acknowledge their message and set course, Alan ordered. He turned to Dr. Grant. Looks like you and I are going aboard, Doctor. Security Chief Marcus Brown stepped forward. Sir, I strongly recommend taking security personnel. 2 representatives only, Alan reminded him. Those are their terms. Then I should go instead of Dr. Grant. No, Chief, we need her expertise. Alan placed a hand on Brown's shoulder. Keep the ship ready. If anything goes wrong, you're first. Priority is the safety of the crew. Brown nodded reluctantly. An hour later, Alan and Dr. Grant sat in a small shuttle, approaching a space station that hadn't been there 6 months ago. The structure was elegant, a perfect sphere with no visible seams or imperfections. They built this entire station just for these talks, Olivia noted, studying the readings. Impressive engineering. Show of force or hospitality? Both, I think. They want us to see their technological capabilities, but also provide neutral ground. The shuttle docked with barely a sound. The airlock cycled open to reveal a long, white corridor. No welcoming committee, Alan observed as they stepped aboard. They're watching us, Olivia replied, pointing discreetly at nearly invisible sensors embedded in the walls. They followed the corridor to its end, where it opened into a circular room. A large table sat in the center, empty, except for 2 small devices on one side. On the opposite side stood a single figure. The alien was tall and slender with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors slightly as they moved. 2 large compound eyes dominated a face with no visible mouth. Vexidian, Olivia whispered, one of the founding species of the hegemony. A small device on the alien's chest glowed, and a voice emerged from it. I am Envoy Zilxar. I speak for the hegemony in this matter. The translator rendered the words in flat, emotionless English. Alan stepped forward. Captain Alan Wright of Earth. This is Dr. Olivia Grant, specialist in interspecies relations. Sit. The alien gestured to the 2 devices on the table. Place, These on your clothing. They will translate your words directly. Once seated with translators attached, Alan addressed the envoy. We appreciate this opportunity for dialogue. Earth wishes to establish peaceful relations with the hegemony. The alien's skin rippled with blue patterns. Your words say peace. Your vessel says war. The Valiant is a military ship, yes, but its presence here is defensive, not aggressive. Defensive. The alien's color shifted to a deep purple. You believe we threaten you? No, Alan replied carefully. But the unknown always carries risk. Zilksar's compound eyes seemed to study them with new intensity. You brought only one guard with you, the female. Dr. Grant smiled slightly. I'm not security personnel. I'm a scientist. This seemed to confuse the alien. Its colors swirled. Unarmed? Both of you? Alan spread his hands. As agreed, 2 representatives, no weapons. Irrational, Zilksar stated. Your species is irrational. May I ask why you believe that? Olivia inquired. The alien's colors settled into a pattern of geometric shapes. 6 of your months ago, our scout vessels scanned your ship. We found biological entities controlling a warship, making decisions, taking risks, sleeping aboard a vessel of destruction. That's standard procedure for human ships, Alan explained. Not standard, dangerous, inefficient, unpredictable. Zilksar's translator seemed unable to convey emotion, but the rapid color changes on the alien's skin suggested agitation. Hegemony vessels operate on logical protocols. Minimal crew, maximum automation. Olivia leaned forward. You were surprised by how many humans were aboard our ship. Surprised? Concerned. Your vessel carried 217 biological decision-makers, all capable of overriding automated systems, all with different thought patterns, unpredictable. Alan exchanged a glance with Olivia. Her theory had been correct. Envoy Zilksar, Alan said carefully, humans value the combination of technology and human judgment. Our ships are designed to be operated by people. People who eat together, the alien continued, who engage in recreational activities aboard, warships, who sleep and dream and feel emotions while controlling weapons. Yes, Olivia confirmed. That's how we operate. Dangerous. Zilksar's colors darkened. When the hegemony formed, we removed biological unpredictability from military operations. Your species embraces it. The alien touched a control on the table. A holographic display appeared, showing internal scans of the Defiance from the first contact incident. This, Zilksar pointed to the mess hall during dinner time, is what terrified our analysts, not your weapons, which are primitive, not your shields, which are inadequate. This. The image showed crew members laughing, arguing, gesturing with utensils as they ate. A perfectly normal dinner scene to human eyes. I don't understand, Alan admitted. Your crew makes emotional decisions while controlling deadly force, Zilksar explained. They form bonds. They have preferences and biases. They can ignore protocols based on intuition. Olivia nodded slowly. You prefer AI systems that follow predictable rules. Predictability ensures safety. Your ships, filled with biological minds making countless unpredictable choices, represent chaos to us. The alien brought up another image, the Defiance's gym where crew members were sparring. Physical combat training. On a warship. Your species brings its most primal instincts into space. Alan looked thoughtful. Envoy Zilksar, may I ask how? Hegemony crew members are selected. Selected, trained, modified. Emotional responses minimized. Decisions bound by protocols. Modified? Olivia asked sharply. Neural adjustments, chemical regulation, logical centers enhanced. Alan felt a chill. You alter your people to serve on ships? All military personnel undergo adjustment. This ensures predictable responses to all scenarios. Olivia made a small note on her datapad. But humans don't. We bring our full selves, emotions, relationships, creativity, into our military service. Yes. Zilksar's colors shifted to a deep red. When we scanned your vessel, we found beings who could make decisions no algorithm would predict, who form social bonds that might influence military choices, who maintain individual identity while wielding destructive power. This is why the hegemony retreated. This is why we feared. Alan sat back, finally understanding. You're not afraid of our technology. You're afraid of us, of human nature itself. Correct? The aliens' colors settled into a steady pulse. The Hegemony Council debates even now whether a species that combines emotion with military power can be safely allowed to expand beyond its home system. The implications were clear. The hegemony was considering containment, or worse. I believe, Olivia said carefully, that we have an opportunity here, Envoy Zilksar. What you see as a frightening unknown, we see as our greatest strength. Perhaps we can demonstrate that human unpredictability isn't always a threat. How? The alien asked. Alan met the compound eyes of the envoy. Let us show you. Accept our invitation to observe life aboard the Valiant. See for yourself how we operate. Zilksar's colors swirled in complex patterns. The Council would never permit such risk. Sometimes, Alan said, the greatest discoveries come from taking risks. Isn't that why you're here, talking to us instead of simply recommending our elimination? The alien was silent for a long moment. Then its colors shifted to a pattern they hadn't seen before. I will consider your proposal, Captain Wright. We will reconvene tomorrow. As they returned to the shuttle, Olivia turned to Alan. That went better than expected. Did it? They're debating whether to quarantine or eliminate our entire species. Yes, but now we know why. And knowledge, she said with a small smile, is the beginning of understanding. The next morning, Captain Alan Wright was surprised to receive a message from the neutral station. Envoy Zilksar had not only considered his proposal, but had convinced the Hegemony Council to approve a modified version. The envoy would visit the Valiant, but under strict conditions. The visit would be short. The envoy would bring a security drone. And most importantly, a joint military exercise would be conducted, a simulated battle between the USS Valiant and a Hegemony warship, called the Logical Conclusion. It's a test, Dr. Olivia Grant said when Alan informed her. They want to see how we respond under pressure. Or they want to assess our tactical capabilities, Security Chief Marcus Brown suggested, his expression guarded. Either way, Alan decided, this is our opportunity to show them who we really are. Prepare the ship for inspection and notify all department heads about the war game. Lieutenant Eric Johnson looked up from his console. Sir, the Hegemony ship is moving from behind the planet. They're requesting docking protocols. Send them. And have Chief Rodriguez double-check our visitor access systems. 3 hours later, Alan stood in the docking bay as the airlock cycled open. Envoy Zilksar entered, accompanied by a floating metallic sphere about the size of a basketball. The alien's color patterns shifted rapidly as its compound eyes took in the human crew members standing at attention. Welcome aboard the USS Valiant, Alan said formally. The envoy's translator device activated. Your invitation was unexpected. The council debated for 6 hours. We appreciate you coming. This is my senior staff, Lieutenant Johnson, Communications, Chief Rodriguez, Engineering, Chief Brown, Security, and you know Dr. Grant. The alien acknowledged each with a slight movement that might have been a nod. The floating sphere emitted a soft hum as it scanned the room. My security observer, Zilksar explained. It will record everything. Of course, shall we begin the tour? As they moved through the ship, Alan noticed the envoy's color patterns changing with each new area. In engineering, where Chief Rodriguez demonstrated the propulsion systems, Zilksar's skin displayed geometric patterns of blue and green. Your engines operate at 62% efficiency, the alien noted. Hegemony drives achieve 91%. Rodriguez smiled. Maybe on paper, but can your engineers do this? She adjusted a control sequence in a way that wasn't in any manual. The subtle vibration that had been present disappeared entirely. That's not standard procedure, Zilksar observed. No, but it works, Rodriguez replied. I figured it out during our second week in space. The official protocols don't account for the specific resonance pattern in this section of the hull. You change the operation parameters based on observation? Of course. That's my job. The envoy's colors swirled with what might have been confusion. In the mess hall, they arrived during lunch hour. The room buzzed with conversation and laughter. Zilxar stood motionless, watching crew members interact. Your people consume nutrition together, the alien stated. This is recreational, not just functional. Dr. Grant nodded. Meals are social, occasions for humans. They build community and trust. On hegemony vessels, nutrition is consumed in isolation to maximize efficiency. That sounds lonely, Lieutenant Johnson commented. The envoy's translator paused before responding. Loneliness is an emotional response, unnecessary for effective operation. The tour continued through crew quarters, recreation areas, and finally to the bridge. Throughout, Zilxar observed silently, but the constantly shifting colors of its skin suggested intense internal reactions. On the bridge, Alan took his command chair. This completes our tour, envoy. Does your security observer have what it needs? It has recorded extensively. The Council will analyze all data. The alien's colors settled into a uniform pattern for the first time. We will now proceed with the joint exercise. Very well. Lieutenant Johnson opened a channel to the logical conclusion. On the view screen, another alien appeared, different from Zilxar, with pale, translucent skin and 3 eyes arranged vertically. This is Captain Nemtor of the logical conclusion. We are prepared for simulation. The parameters are simple, Zilxar explained. Both vessels will engage in a simulated conflict within the Tau Ceti system. No actual weapons will be fired, but all systems will register simulated damage. The exercise ends when one ship is disabled or surrenders. Alan nodded. Understood. We're ready when you are. Beginning in 3 minutes, Captain Nemtor stated flatly. Prepare your systems. As the view screen went dark, Alan turned to his crew. Battle stations. This isn't just a game. It's our chance to show them how humans operate under pressure. The bridge transformed as crew members moved with practiced efficiency. Lieutenant Johnson coordinated communications, Security Chief Brown activated defense protocols, and Chief Rodriguez monitored all systems remotely from engineering. What's your strategy, Captain? Dr. Grant asked quietly. To show them something they don't expect, Alan replied. Lieutenant Johnson, can you detect any pattern in how they operate their ship from our previous scans? Yes, sir. The hegemony. Vessels follow precise, predictable protocols. They respond to threats in predetermined ways. Good. Then we'll do the opposite. Chief Rodriguez, prepare for manual thruster control. Sir? She looked surprised. That's rarely used except in emergencies. Exactly. I want unpredictable movements they can't anticipate. The countdown reached 0, and the exercise began. On the view screen, the logical conclusion moved with perfect precision, executing textbook maneuvers as it approached. They're scanning our weapon systems, Johnson reported. Let them look, Alan replied. But Chief Rodriguez, I want you to create a false power signature in the secondary systems. Make it look like we're charging lateral arrays. Clever, Brown nodded. They'll expect us to attack from the side. Rodriguez worked quickly. Done, sir. They should detect the power buildup now. As predicted, the hegemony ship adjusted its position to strengthen shields on its flank. Alan saw his opportunity. Now direct full power to forward thrusters. Bring us straight at them, maximum speed. The Valiant surged forward. On the view screen they could see the logical conclusion. Adjusting too slowly. They're trying to recalibrate, Johnson reported with a grin. Their protocols didn't predict this approach. Simulated weapons lock, Brown announced. We could take out their primary drive systems. Hold fire, Alan ordered. Let's see what they do. The exercise continued for 20 minutes. The hegemony, ship operated with mathematical precision, every move calculated for optimal effect. But the Valiant's crew adapted continuously, making decisions that defied prediction. Then, something unexpected happened. A real spatial anomaly formed between the two ships, a rare phenomenon in the Taetti system that neither side had anticipated. Gravitational distortion, Rodriguez reported. It's interfering with our sensors. On the view screen, the logical conclusion had stopped moving, apparently caught in the same predicament. "What do we do, Captain?" Johnson asked. "This isn't part of the simulation," Alan thought quickly. "Chief Rodriguez, can we use the shuttle's sensors to map the anomaly? They're on a different frequency." "Not standard procedure," she replied, "but yes, we could modify them to work." "Do it. And Lieutenant, open a channel to the hegemony ship. Let's see if they want to continue the exercise or deal with this together." Johnson opened communications. On screen, Captain Nemtor appeared motionless, eyes blinking rapidly. "This situation is not in our simulation parameters," the alien stated. "No, but it's a real phenomenon we both need to navigate," Alan replied. "We're adapting our systems to map the anomaly. Would you like to share data?" There was a long pause. Alan realized the hegemony captain was likely consulting protocols or waiting for instructions. Beside him, Dr. Grant whispered, "They don't know what to do. Their algorithms didn't predict this." Finally, Captain Nemtor responded, "We accept your offer of cooperation." The exercise was officially paused. As the two ships worked together to study and navigate around the anomaly, Alan noticed Envoy Zilxar watching the bridge crew with intense focus. The aliens' colors had formed a pattern they hadn't seen before. "You improvised," Zilxar said, "eventually. When faced with the unexpected, you created a new solution." "That's what humans do," Alan replied simply. "It's our nature to adapt." "Yes," the envoy agreed, colors rippling. "Now I understand what truly frightened us." The war game exercise had ended with no clear winner, but with a new understanding between the two ships. As the Valiant and the Logical Conclusion worked together to study the unexpected spatial anomaly, Envoy Zilxar continued to observe the human crew with increasing interest. The envoy's color patterns had stabilized into a calm blue-green, suggesting a shift in emotional state. "Captain Wright," Zilxar said, as they stood on the bridge, "I must transmit my observations to the Hegemony Council." "Of course," Alan replied. "You can use our communication array if needed." "That will not be necessary. My security observer contains direct quantum links to the Council." The envoy gestured to the floating sphere, which emitted a soft hum and projected a holographic display. Only the alien could read. While Zilxar communicated with the Council, Dr. Olivia Grant moved beside Alan. "This is going better than expected," she whispered. "The envoy's color patterns indicate curiosity rather than fear now." Alan nodded. "Let's hope the Council sees things the same way." The peaceful moment was shattered by an alarm from Lieutenant Johnson's station. "Captain, 3 vessels just appeared from behind the 7th planet. Their hegemony design, but different." "On screen," Alan ordered. The view screen showed 3 sleek ships approaching rapidly. Unlike the elegant geometric design of the Logical Conclusion, these vessels featured jagged edges and protruding weapon arrays. Zilxar's colors flashed to a bright orange. "Impossible. Those are Purifier-class vessels, decommissioned 50 years ago. They're powering weapons," Security Chief Brown reported, "and they're transmitting a message." "Let's hear it," Alan said. A harsh voice filled the bridge, speaking through a translator similar to Zilxar's. "Attention, biological contamination. This is Commander Vextor of the True Path. The abomination of your existence ends today. Your emotional chaos will not infect our ordered society." The transmission cut off. Alan turned to Zilxar. "Friends of yours?" The envoy's colors had darkened to deep purple. "Extremists. A faction that believes all unpredictable species should be eliminated. They were thought purged from our society generations ago." "Well, they're back," Alan replied grimly. "And they're not here for talks." "Captain," Johnson reported, "the Logical Conclusion is hailing us." Captain Nemtor appeared on screen. "Human vessel, we detect hostile intent from the approaching ships. They do not represent the hegemony. We are uncertain how to proceed. Alan made a quick decision. We stand together, Captain Nemtor. The Valiant will defend both our ships. Zilxar stepped forward. Captain Wright, you cannot hope to defeat 3 purifier vessels, even outdated ones. Your technology is inferior. Maybe, Alan agreed. But we have something they don't. Turned to his crew. Battle stations. This isn't a simulation anymore. As the crew rushed to prepare, Dr. Grant pulled Alan aside. This is a critical moment, Captain. How we respond could determine humanity's future relationship with the hegemony. I know, and I have no intention of starting a war. He addressed the bridge. Our priority is defensive action only. Protect both ships and find a diplomatic solution if possible. The 3 hostile vessels split formation, clearly intending to surround them. Sir, Johnson called out, Captain Nemtor is requesting instructions. Their tactical systems are frozen. Frozen? Alan asked. They have no protocols for this situation, Zilxar explained. A diplomatic vessel and an Earth ship facing rogue hegemony extremists? Their systems cannot compute an optimal response. Alan thought quickly. Tell them to stay behind us. Lieutenant Johnson, open a channel to the lead hostile ship. Channel open. This is Captain Alan Wright of the USS Valiant. We are here on a diplomatic mission with the full knowledge of the Hegemony Council. Stand down your weapons. Your words are meaningless, emotional creature, came the reply. Your unpredictability is a disease that must be eliminated. The enemy, ships opened fire. The Valiant shuddered as its shields absorbed the first barrage. Shields at 70%, Brown reported. Their weapons are powerful but outdated. Return fire, Alan ordered. Target weapon systems only. The Valiant's phasers lanced out, striking the lead vessel. At the same time, Chief Rodriguez called, from engineering. Captain, I've analyzed their shield frequency. It's based on old hegemony standards. I can modify our weapons to be more effective. Do it, Alan commanded. As the battle continued, the Valiant demonstrated exactly what had terrified the hegemony months before. The human crew acted with coordinated chaos, making split-second decisions, adapting tactics and improvising solutions that no algorithm could predict. Lieutenant Johnson rerouted communications through unusual frequencies to confuse the enemy, targeting systems. Chief Rodriguez continually adjusted shield harmonics to maximize protection. Security Chief Brown executed attack patterns that seemed illogical at first, but proved devastatingly effective. Throughout the battle, Envoy Zilxar watched with color shifting between alarm and fascination. You fight as you live, the envoy observed, with emotion guiding logic, not replacing it. The battle reached a critical point when one of the enemy ships broke through and headed directly for the defenseless logical conclusion. They're going to destroy Nemtor's ship, Johnson warned. Not if I can help it, Alan replied. Helm, intercept course. Chief Brown, divert all reserve power to forward shields. The Valiant placed itself between the attacker and the diplomatic vessel, absorbing a barrage meant for the logical conclusion. The ship rocked violently. Shields failing, Brown reported. One more hit like that and we're done. In that moment, Alan saw their opportunity. They expect us to retreat now, to save ourselves. He turned to his tactical officer. Target their engine core with everything we've got, then cut all power to weapons. Sir? Brown looked confused. Trust me, Chief. The Valiant fired a concentrated burst at the enemy vessel's engines, then immediately powered down its weapons. The enemy ship faltered, its engines damaged, but still operational. Now, Lieutenant Johnson, open a channel. Maximum broadcast. Channel. Open. Alan stood tall. This is Captain Wright. We have disabled our weapon systems. We seek no further conflict. Our mission is peace, not destruction. There was a long pause. The enemy ships held position, clearly confused by this unexpected move. Finally, a transmission came through. Your surrender is accepted, emotional creatures. Prepare to be boarded and... The transmission cut off abruptly as a new vessel appeared, massive and gleaming with the unmistakable design of a hegemony flagship. The council vessel, Zilsar said, colors brightening. They received my transmissions. Within minutes, the rogue ships were surrounded and forced to stand down. The crisis had passed. Later, as hegemony security forces took the extremists into custody, Alan stood in the Valiant's conference room with Zilxer, Dr. Grant, and Captain Nemtor. You had the tactical advantage, Nemtor said, three eyes blinking in sequence. Yet you disabled your weapons and offered peace. Because winning the battle wasn't as important as showing who we truly are, Alan replied. Zilxer's colors formed a pattern that resembled a smile. When our scouts first scanned your vessel, we saw only the danger of your unpredictability. We failed to see its value. And what value is that? Dr. Grant asked, though her smile suggested she already knew the answer. Balance, the envoy replied. You combine emotion with logic, instinct with training, individual choice with collective action. It is not what we expected. The Hegemony Council has reviewed all observations, Nemtor added. They have reached a decision regarding humanity. Alan tensed slightly. And? You will be classified as a protected independent species, free to develop in your own way, with open diplomatic channels to the hegemony. Dr. Grant let out a breath she'd been holding. Not a threat to be contained. No, Zilxar agreed, colors shifting to a bright gold. A different path to be studied and respected. As Captain Nemtor departed to return to his ship, Zilxar remained for a final word with Alan. What you saw today, the extremists, is what happens when fear overrides understanding. We feared what we saw when we scanned your vessel. Now we see more clearly. Alan smiled. Sometimes what terrifies us at first glance becomes what we value most upon reflection. Indeed, the envoy agreed, its colors forming the most complex pattern yet. The hegemony has much to learn from humanity, Captain Wright, as perhaps humanity has from us. This is not an ending, but a beginning. As the Valiant prepared for its journey home, Alan recorded his final log entry about the mission. He reflected on the irony that what had terrified the aliens about humans, their unpredictability, their emotions, their humanity itself, had ultimately become the foundation for peace between the stars.